Yeah, so this is my first time making like a YouTube video for real where I'm like talking at the camera. So I'm going to do my best here with that. If you're here, you're probably curious about the CET Osaka program, which is great because that's what I'm gonna talk about. Which is super great because I'm going to talk about my personal experiences on the program, and also kind of the ins and outs of the program as I experienced it, and some of those things have changed, I should say, or, they might be different by the time you're going, you know, this, take everything honestly in this video with, like, a little bit of a grain of salt, at least, because, like, my personal experience, it might be different than yours, and it was obviously different from other people even on my program. So just keep that in mind while I ramble a bit about all the things that I think are important and that I experienced while I was there. My name is Elizabeth Grieve. I am currently a student at University of Oregon, but when I went on the CET program, I was at Lewis and Clark College, which offers the CET Osaka program. My current university does not actually offer the Osaka program. That's part of why I'm making this video. It's because I'm a CET campus ambassador, but I can't really promote that much on my own campus. Thus, that's why I'm here. Like, I can't promote a program that doesn't exist that well on, like, the University of Oregon campus, because people are gonna be like, can I go on this program? And I'm gonna be like, well, yes, you can technically go on, like, any study abroad program you want to, like, even if your, like, university doesn't, like, directly offer it, because you can just take a year off, technically, like, that is what that is. I can't say that it won't be more complicated. I don't know a ton about this, okay? But I've been told that it's, like, possible. So if you're watching this and you don't even go to a university or college that offers the CET Osaka program, don't lose hope if you really want to go, cause I really enjoyed it when I went. So yeah. What else? I'm gonna be looking down at notes every once in a while. I have the subjects that I need to talk about. There may be a part 2 depending on how long I feel like this is taking. So let's just get into it. How about him? So I went on the program from fall 2023 to spring 2024. I really wanted to go for a really long time. That was like my whole thing, is that I want to be in Japan for as long as possible through study abroad, because it's not like, you know, my perspective on it, at least, and this is how the adults in my life felt as well, where they were like you don't really get another chance to truly study abroad and just be studying in another country unless you're in college. A lot of people do not go the full year. I was one of 4 people who went the whole year. Why did I choose the program? I chose it because it's Osaka, and I have a friend in Osaka, and they're like a very close family friend, and I knew that they would help me out if I really needed help, or if I was in like an emergency situation, I knew that they could help me. That's mostly why. Honest, that is probably like 90% of why I went, is because I was just like, oh, I have a friend in Osaka. I also thought Osaka seemed fun. Like, I knew about the dialect. If you don't know, I guess, Osaka has a dialect that makes it different from the rest of Japan. And in, like, English, like, localized, dubbed, like, Japanese media that's dubbed and localized into English typically makes the Osaka dialect, like, southern, which is so funny to me. I was like, that's so fascinating. Anyway, it's a funny little thing. I thought Osaka seemed cool because it seemed different from the rest of Japan. I'd heard that it was, like, kind of the warm, friendly, like, I don't know, it's a city known for being warm and friendly in Japan. Like, it's more extroverted, I guess. And I also heard that the food is, like, the best in Osaka. That's kind of, like, I don't know if that's true, but I would say it was really good, so I don't know if I get to have that take, but that's just what other people told me. I thought the food was amazing when I was there, so thank God. And those are kind of the reasons that I went. Things that I wish I'd kind of prepared for more in retrospect is that, in general, studying abroad in Japan and taking Japanese classes in Japan, your classes that you've taken in America in Japanese will probably not prepare you for that. No, I wouldn't say it was like, I'm not saying it was awful or anything, but just across the board when I talk to people about their, like, regardless of program, like, taking language classes in Japan, those language classes are just harder and, like, more intense than, Japanese classes in the US. So on one level, I'm really glad that I, like, got that challenge, because, like, I honestly couldn't really speak Japanese, despite having studied Japanese for, like, a pretty long while. Before I went to Japan, I, like, couldn't, like, I guess I could, if I wanted to, have a conversation, but it just wasn't, like, I don't know, like, I hadn't been forced to, like, I really only spoke in Japanese in classes, and, like, sometimes with Japanese students. Like, it's just not the same as, like, being in Japan and being immersed. So I'm really glad that that helped me. At the same time, it is a language-intensive program. It is quite intense. CET has, and this is like what they're known for, as far as I'm aware, they have a language pledge, which means that you're only supposed to speak Japanese, like, at least for our program, it kind of got changed, and it's a little complicated. They have a language pledge, basically. That means you're supposed to only speak Japanese, like, a majority of the time. That's mostly what that means. And that is, like, upheld by the staff. Like, they will, like, potentially call you out for speaking English. Personally, I didn't really, like, have any, like, moments of, like, getting called out. I think sometimes I, like, sing at random, and my brain isn't thinking about the fact that it's English, I'm just singing, so there was moments like that where I was just singing a song to myself, and, like, they would be like, what are you doing? I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I just really, I've been listening to Standing Next to Rich Cook, like, a lot, like, and it's not, like, I'm not thinking of it as, like, using English. I think it was good to be forced, in general, to use Japanese. That was, I think, a good experience overall. Some people that was really difficult for, and some people it wasn't difficult for at all. Obviously, it varies by person. But yeah, so that's, like, if you are going to go on this program, I'd really, like, just, I guess obviously, but, like, this is a program for learning Japanese, and if you just want to go to Japan and, like, hang out and, like, do fun stuff, that's totally fine. I would say that other programs are more inclined to that. It's not that you can't do that on this program, but it's kind of like a dual thing. Like, I would spend some weekends studying and some weekends, like, going to Universal Studios Japan, which is also in Osaka, by the way. It's super fun. It has amazing Nintendo Land. It's fantastic. Super fun. And then, like, you know, it's just a balance. And they even changed the program to, like, suit traveling more. It's a 4-day class week instead of a 5-day class week, so I think, yeah, we don't have class on Mondays. We didn't have class on Mondays, which is really, really awesome. They changed that my term. That was, like, the first term they'd done that, because they had gotten, like, some feedback from previous students that were like, I didn't really have time to, like, go do stuff and travel, because honestly, if you look at, like, a 2-day weekend, you're probably just, if you want to go somewhere that's, like, further than, I don't know, like, 2 hours away, you're probably gonna have to just skip class on Monday or Friday anyway to make that worth it. So I think it was really, really, like, smart of them to just be like, we're just gonna have a 4-day week. Oh dear, I got into classes instead of what the list wants me to do. So, classes. So, now, since I just started talking about classes, and, like, what to expect, the classes are 3 hours every, weekday, or 4 days out of the week, as I mentioned, from 9 to 12, unless that's changed. Yeah. I don't know, like, what do I say? They're Japanese classes, and they're all in Japanese, like, the teacher's speaking Japanese, everybody else is speaking Japanese. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say, because they're just classes. Obviously, like, as I mentioned, they were pretty, could be pretty challenging. They went from, like, not really challenging to, like, very challenging, but I really feel like that depends on the person, because I watched some people, like, completely breeze through classes, and, like, some people who were, like, who were, like, suffering. So, like, you know, normal college stuff. Like, there's gonna be people who are like, man, this class is so hard, and you're like, what do you mean? And then there's gonna be people who are like, this class is basically nothing, and I finished my homework in 15 minutes, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Personally, for me, I found them challenging, but I think that was good for me overall, as I mentioned. There is 100 level, 200 level, 300 level, and 400 level. Sometimes if they have enough people, they have a 500 level, but that's almost just like, you're kind of just like fluent at the point of 500, which is kind of crazy because I'm in 400 level classes in the US. I'm nowhere near fluent. But that level is like really intense. Like, I don't know. It's like very advanced. And they only do it if they have enough people, which doesn't happen very often. So, for example, my first term, one of my friends was in a 500 level class. It was just them and the teacher, and I was like, that sounds crazy. And apparently it was crazy. Like, it was a little bit like not slay. So the next term they were like, okay, we're just not gonna have the 500 level, even though somebody had been planning to take the 500, but they only had like one person who wanted to take it. So if you're really motivated to take the 500 level, maybe check in with the CET staff and like see if there's any way you can tell, like, obviously check with like what classes are being offered, because it varies from term to term. There's also a 290 class apparently sometimes, which is like between 200 and 300, and it's supposed to kind of like narrow the gap between those two levels, because as somebody who took the 200 and 300, completely different expectations from what they want from you from one to the other, I would say, which is fine, challenging, great. But also, like, I understood why they might have a class between those two. Like, most people said that, like, there's a really big gap in, like, I don't know, your level of Japanese between 200 and 300. So sometimes they offer 290, sometimes they don't. They didn't offer it either the terms I was there, so maybe it's offered in the summer. I don't know. Yeah, there's also elective classes. However, I did not take any of them, so I cannot really tell you about them, besides what I've heard from other people. So I'll talk about that. I did not take any elective classes because I just wanted more time to be in Japan, and I figured being in a 3-hour language class would be fine. Would be totally fill up my schedule and like have me working hard enough that I was satisfied with myself personally. I don't really want to take classes that I don't have to take unless it's absolutely necessary, or I think it's going to be like the most banger amazing class ever. Particularly like when there's so many like awesome unique experiences that I could be having in Japan instead of sitting in a class. And it's kind of just like, at least my impression of it and like kind of what I heard from other people, it's just like college classes in the US. So it's just like, instead of going out to an onsen or like doing karaoke or going out to yakiniku with your friends, you're sitting in an art class, and it's the same experiences you could be having in the US, except you're being prevented from going and doing specific fun Japanese things. So like, that's just me. I don't know if I'm a little biased because I didn't take any electives and I don't regret not doing that. So but I had other friends who took them. Credit-wise, that can work out kind of weird. My college, Lewis and Clark College, accepted my 3-hour language class as 12 credits. So I was like a full-time student still, but other people had like scholarships, so they needed to take a certain number of credits for, and the language class didn't count as a full-time schedule. Like, there are situations like that, depending on your college. My Lewis and Clark was like, you're good if you just take the language class. I was like, thank God. But some people enjoyed their classes. All the elective classes are actually in English, which is really interesting. But that doesn't necessarily mean the teacher speaks English. So one of the classes I heard about was like they had a translator for the teacher who was like translating everything into English for the students. The elective that I heard the most good things about was the Osaka dialect class, which I mentioned previously. The Osaka dialect is a really fun, little interesting thing. For those kinds of people is what I'm trying to say. Is they recently created a class with no language pledge. That's a language class that you can take. I don't know if this replaces the language class. I think it sounded like it did from what I heard, but that is available now. So you don't have to do the language pledge. If you've never studied Japanese before, you could take that class without having the pressure of, like, you cannot speak English ever. So I think the program has definitely gotten a lot better since I've been there for accommodating people who've never learned Japanese before. So don't let it scare you too much. That is available to you. Oh yes, other thing about the classes, and also this applies to housing. So I'm gonna go into housing right after this. The CET program, and they don't tell you this before going, so I was like, oh okay. It doesn't really affect the program that much. However, there are kind of some mixing between the two programs that are at Osaka Gakuin Daigaku, Osaka Gakuin University. There's also a European study abroad program there, so there's European students that are there. And you don't see them that much. Like, the CET program is just Americans, pretty much. But, you do see them in the elective classes. The elective classes are shared with the European program, and sometimes, not all the time, the housing is also shared with the European students. So, yeah, I don't know. Just thought I'd mention that. It didn't really affect me that much because they weren't in my housing. I didn't take any electives. I don't know. Some of my friends made friends with them. I don't know. It just didn't happen. I didn't see them that much. But you will, like, see them walking around the campus and be like, oh, like, there's the French guys or whatever. They are there. Yes, I forgot about this. This is the last thing I'm going to mention for the classes section, because I feel like this has already gone on too long. The final project of the classes is kind of what the term is spent, or the semester is spent building up to. So the final project is, first, you are required to take, like, a survey, interview Japanese people about a certain topic, and, like, you give them, like a paper survey with, like, yes or no questions. You can go out and find Japanese people to do this with. You can do it with, the Japanese students you're living with. However, they will set up a time for you specifically to interview a lot of Japanese people. They get the Japanese students that you're living with. I'll talk more about that later. I'm gonna get into housing really soon, I swear. So you interview them, and there's also just members of the community that they bring in. So there's also just, like, some, like, you know, older women, older people there, not just college students there, that you can interview. So they give you time to interview people. So you collect all those answers, you write it up, and then you write a speech about, like, what you found out, and you, like, explain the topic, and then you make a poster of those results and that topic, and you present in a room with everybody else and their poster boards standing in front of them, and you, like, kind of give your spiel. You like, the ideas that you use the speech, like, I had a note card of the speech that I wrote that I had to perform in class, like, on a separate thing about the topic. The speech, to me, honestly, was more nerve-wracking than the presentation itself, because in the class, your teacher's watching you and everybody's silent and everybody's watching you, but the presentation space is, like, really loud, like, everybody's talking. Sometimes people just have questions, they don't want to hear your whole spiel, you know. That's a main point of the classes, and I would say that was a really good experience for me, because it, like, made me feel like, oh, like, I can present in Japanese if I really need to. It is really fun to make the poster. I always like creative stuff, so it was fun.